Welcome to Breakthrough Success. I am your host, Mark Roberti, CEO and founder of the Content Marketing Plaza, bringing you 3 new episodes each week where I and top-level guests teach you how to take your business to the next level and achieve your breakthrough. And one of the things that I'm always fascinated with is hearing about young entrepreneurs. Part of this is because I started early and I just love seeing these other young entrepreneurs as role models and people who I should definitely be hanging out with. So we have a young entrepreneur who is with us today, and he really broke through as a young entrepreneur, and he's been able to leverage that into some really incredible things. So a little more about today's guest. He is a 2-time national award-winning entrepreneur, 2-time national bestselling author, KeyNote speaker, digital marketer, a lot of really awesome stuff. He was previously the co-founder of Changing Lanes International, which helps authors, speakers, and coaches build their brands online. He took that to a six-figure business in 10 months. And he was also previously a growth hacker over at VaynerMedia, building Gary V's personal brand. So today's guest for episode 360 of the Breakthrough Success podcast is none other than Reis. Harris, it is such a pleasure to have you on the show.
Man, love the energy, Mark. You are bringing the fire today.
Harris, is such a pleasure to have you on the show, and I know we're going to be providing so much value to the listeners and everyone watching over on YouTube. But one of the things I want to ask you first is I love interviewing other young entrepreneurs because I just love the young entrepreneur dynamic. So I'm wondering what first got you started as a young entrepreneur, but also when did you realize you could really do this? Because that's a big challenge some young entrepreneurs face too.
Yeah, man, absolutely. So, I mean, I told you right before we started the show, I'm from Bosnia, started super young. My parents have always, hardworking parents, typical immigrant story. Never really saw them. I had everything I kind of wanted to. But at 12 years old, I was like, man, I need to help them. I'm going to go get a job at 12. It's like, what can I do? Well, I used to play soccer, so I picked up a whistle and started reffing soccer games. I was like, okay, this is cool. It's making technically, $20 an hour at 12. That's not bad. I mean, it's technically because you only get 1 game a day. You don't work 8-hour days. So I was making decent money at 12, and I was like, okay, cool. But how can I do something? I did it for a year or two, and I was like, how can I do something or not leveraging my time, and I can leverage assets like the internet? So I started researching, and I got into network marketing. I was like, okay, cool. I don't have to learn how to build stuff. It's all already there. All I have to do is sell. So that was kind of my first business, and it's been history ever since.
And it's really interesting how you got started as a referee. And if you think of it the right way, if you approach it with the right mindset, you could really expand it into a lot more, as Harris has been able to do when he started to think, how can I leverage different assets to grow a business, to grow revenue, and do all of those different things. One question that I do want to ask, I've experienced this a little bit. I know a lot of young entrepreneurs face this a lot, but there's this thing that people think you're too young to do stuff. And I'm wondering, did you get that or no? Or
absolutely.
How'd you cope with that? How'd you power through that? Because obviously you powered through.
Yeah, it's tough when you're younger and you have knowledge. Sometimes older entrepreneurs or even older people in general. I mean, I had a job at Omaha Steaks. I was their senior supervisor. I led every single sales team that they had. I was, top in sales, out of training, top in sales on the sales floor. Like, man, we need to get you teaching people. I was like, okay, great. So I started teaching people. But the biggest objection was like, you're a 17-year-old kid. I'm 35. Why should I listen? I was like, no. Listen. Just try this one thing. And then, they try it and it works. And I was like, okay, maybe I should listen to this young kid. So it's planting little seeds, especially when you're younger. You have to plant these little seeds and watch it grow. You have to give it time. Typically, most young entrepreneurs, we want everything now, like right now.
Yeah.
We want you to listen to me right now. I want you to buy my stuff right now. I want you to do this right now. It's always right now. But one thing that we really need to learn how to use is patience. We're younger. We have to give it time. And especially if you're young, you have to learn how to leverage other people. You have a podcast, Mark. You 360 episodes deep. Every single one of those guests that you have on, you can leverage to get more guests. Every time no one will ever say no to a podcast. hey, will you come on my show? Absolutely. You know, you'll very seldomly hear no. You'll still hear it. I mean, we talked about it before. You heard it. It'll still happen, but not as often. But being able to get people on your show and leveraging that name, saying, hey, I've interviewed, you know, XYZ, and I've worked with XYZ, people tend to give you more credit. Once they stop working with Gary Vaynerchuk, people are like, oh my God, you work with Gary? Yes. I want to work with you. They didn't care about the age anymore.
Yeah, it's just authority by association. That's how a lot of people can do it. Like podcasting, when I say I interviewed someone like Seth Godin, who has been really critical for my journey, and you saying you've worked with Gary. By the way, Team Vaynerchuk. If you see the video, you see the sneakers. Team Gary V. But it's interesting how you mentioned that the authority by association factor really gave you that leverage. But at the same time, you do have to get those people to give you a shot. Now, again, like with the age, it's a little more different. Like if you do watch a Gary V video, though, he says like, if I had this stuff when I was 18, so I get a little humbled by that. But I'm wondering, how did you start working with Gary V? Because not like anyone can just get in there. So what was the leverage, or what did you have to do to get there?
Anyone can get there. You have to bring something to the table. You have to be really good at something, but anyone can get there. I'm nothing special. I'm no one special. I just found a unique way to get there. And hopefully through my journey, someone else says, you know, this is creative, and they find a way to get to Seth Godin or Tim Ferriss or Tony Robbins, whoever. But what I did in my journey, I went to a conversion summit. It's called Traffic and Conversion. It's in San Diego. It's a digital marketing summit. 6,000 people attend. And I got into this whole digital marketing journey when I was young by Ryan Dice, who founded Traffic and Conversion. So I wanted to go to this. I was super excited. I was like, okay, cool. I bought a normal ticket. And they're like, hey, do you want to upgrade to VIP? And I was like, meh. All VIP means you get a table to write your notes on. I was like, well, I don't know if I need a table. And they're like, oh, by the way, Gary Vaynerchuk's going to be the keynote speaker. It's like, okay, I want to get to Gary. How do I do it? So I started with the end in mind. I was like, I want to work with Gary. I have this conference. How do I connect the two? I said, okay, cool. I have to stick out over 6,000 other incredibly smart entrepreneurs. Some young, some old, all incredibly smart. How do I do it? Okay, well, I'll buy VIP because there's 2,000 VIP members versus 6,000 general audience members. It's like, okay, I'm going to buy VIP. I buy VIP. I was like, okay, now I'm in front. I got to figure out how to stand out with those people, but I got to get to Gary. So I watched every episode I possibly could on YouTube, and he, on one episode, gave his email out. I was like, this is cool. I have Gary's email. Mm-hmm. And then there's a little, what's it called, an email dozier, where I can check if that email is still valid. If you just Google email doziers, you can test out emails. Mark, I'll send you a link to one I use, so if you want to put it in the show notes,
definitely.
Audience, I'll just link you that one. But yeah, so I tested it. I was like, okay, cool. This is actually Gary's email. I was like, I'm going to use it. I was like, okay, so when do I email this guy, right? Incredibly busy. Everyone's emailing him. How do I stick out in his inbox? I was like, okay, well, he works out at 6 in the morning every morning, which is 4 o'clock Nebraska time, Central Time. I'm in Nebraska. It's like, okay, if I email him every day when he works out, odds are I'm going to get to him versus when he's in the hustle and bustle of every day, meetings.
Oh, wow.
So I had to get up every day, and I couldn't automate it because there's filtering and whatever. If you automate it, it won't send. So I had to get up, send him an email, and I literally typed a different email every day so he knows I'm not copy and pasting and trying to find a shortcut. Did that for weeks, 0 response, but I kept doing it. And then I was watching an episode of Ask Gary Vee, and he says, you know, it doesn't matter if you go to Harvard or Schmarvard, entrepreneurship is entrepreneurship, and they made a shirt called Schmarvard. I was like, I'm going to buy that shirt. So in my email now, I said, okay, hey, look out for me front and center at the Traffic and Conversion Summit in a blue Schmarvard shirt. I got blue because it sticks out. Because when you're speaking on stages, some colors don't stick out. White would be great. Blue is just different because someone next to me could have a white shirt. So I wanted to be different, right? The whole thing is sticking out. Like, okay, how do I stick out? I emailed him every day, 0 response. The night before the event comes, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, okay, tomorrow's the day. How do I get in front of him? I've been emailing this guy for weeks. I bought his shirt, 0 communication. What do I do? I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to go to the event. It was like 4 a.m. The thing doesn't start till 9, networking at 8. I'm just going to go and try to see if I can figure it out. I get there and I have my backpack, just a regular t-shirt and jeans, and some guy says, "Oh, sir, what are you doing here? You're here for the event, which doesn't start till 8 a.m. The actual event starts at 9." I was like, "What am I doing here? What are you doing here? I'm an AV guy. Why would I be here at 4 in the morning if I wasn't working? I would rather be in bed sleeping, but I'm here, so I'm gonna go do my job." And he's like, "Oh, okay, cool. Thanks." So I actually had to go act like I'm an AV guy, and I knew nothing about AV. And it's a huge conference, so I don't want to mess anything up. Right. So what I did is just played with the cords. I never took one out because I didn't know if it would mess up everything. But I just played a little, acted like I was turning it, acted like I was doing something important, acting like I'm testing microphones. I had no idea if they were working or not. I was hoping no one would ask me, "Hey, does this microphone work?" later during the event.
Right.
So I had to play it off very well and disappear a lot. But I was there, and then 8 o'clock comes around the corner, and I was like, okay, I should go network with people, but I want to leave my stuff here so I can sit front and center now. So I'm standing out in front of 6.
Right.
But if I leave my backpack on a chair, someone could easily just take my backpack, move, take the spot. So then I didn't know if I should go network or not. But then I said, well, if I take the stuff out of my laptop or my backpack, I put my laptop here, a notebook here, thing. No one is going to move all those things versus sitting 3 or 4 chairs down or behind.
Right.
I'm going to do that because that's very time sensitive. No one's going to do that. So I did that, went outside, started networking with people. 9 o'clock comes around the corner. Everyone is sprinting in. I am casually walking in because I have my spot. And then, so the event goes, 9 a.m. happens. I'm sitting in my spot. Everything's great. Gary gets on at 7. So weeks prior, 4 a.m. every day, I got to the event center at 4 a.m. as well. Email, 0 response. I bought his t-shirt. I changed my email every single day for weeks. And then he gets on stage and goes, "Schmarbert, I see you."
Wow.
Yes. Cool. Now what? So now I'm thinking, and the whole time he actually mentioned me on stage, not me, my name personally, but our experience. And I was like, okay, I had his attention 100% for sure. What do I do now? That's far away from getting it. Now what? I was like, well, as soon as he's done talking, they go into a green room and I never see him again. And I have the perfect spot. As soon as he gets off stage, I'm there. It's like, okay. As soon as he gets off, I'm going to act like I'm taking a picture because I can say, "Oh, I'm fumbling around with my phone. My camera's not coming up. Give me a second." But meanwhile, while I'm pulling up my camera, I can talk. So I was like, "Oh, I'm pulling up my camera. Oh, by the way, Gary, I would love to work with you one-on-one. I'd love to bring value to your team. I'm young. I've done marketing for a while. I'll even work for free. Just let me come up to New York City. Sorry, my camera's just so funky. But I would love to come to New York City and work." And he says, "Well, tell you what, Horace, I'm actually driving from San Diego, which is where the event was, to LA. So I'm going to be in a car for the next 3 hours. If you email me, what I'll do is I'll just connect you to my guy. His name is Andy. He's my brand director. And I'll give you an interview so you have a chance."
Wow.
I was like, "Cool, let me get a picture, man. Let me don't move." And then everybody else started copying me. I was the first one to get the photo because I got the time to talk. Everyone else just kind of had to take a photo and go because there's 6,000 people. Everyone wants a photo.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll do as many as I can, but I do have to go because I have another meeting. So being first matters because the second guy probably didn't get that chance.
Right. Yeah.
Get the chance to, "Oh, my camera's not working." He would just say, "Oh, next," until you get your camera working. So I had the interview that day. The whole interview lasted, 2 minutes. Andy's a really good friend, great guy. But during the interview, he's like, "What school do you go to?" I was like, "The University of," "Okay, cool. What do you do now?" I was like, "Well, I do digital marketing, and I really focus on," "Oh, okay, cool." Kept interrupting me. I was like, "Dude, let me talk. This is my chance. Dude, just let me talk." And he goes, "You got a place to stay?" I was like, "That is literally the easiest thing to figure out. I'll get it done. Like, don't worry about a place to stay. I'll figure it out." But, "Oh, okay, cool. Well, HR's going to reach out to you. You're hired. See you in May." I was like, what did I just do? So yeah, that's the whole crazy long story of how Gary happened.
Wow. And that's a really great lesson when it comes to reaching out to people because it's not just like Harris sent out an email to Gary and it was like, "Hey, hire me." he sent emails every single day, getting nothing back in response, just hoping it would still work out. So sometimes, like I noticed this because I go through my inbox, I get a lot of people. Sometimes I see the email, I don't reply, I just don't have the time, and I'm sure, yeah, like he's so busy. So like if you want to reach out to a super busy guy, you gotta be super busy with your outreach. So definitely amazing the way Harris did it. I mean, just hearing that story, like I was taken away from host and I was just like listener mode for like that whole moment. I was like, wow, just like, keep talking. I mean, like that's really legendary.
Yeah, awesome, man. It's different because I was just watching an interview with Ed Milet. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he just interviewed the comedian Sebastian. He has a really long Italian last name.
Maniscalco?
Yeah. So I don't know. Did you watch that?
No, I know who the comedian is, though.
Yeah, you should, man. It's awesome. But he said Ed has 1 million followers. He has a huge influence out there. So you would think a guy like that can just message whoever and have him come on the show because he gets thousands of listeners. And you'd think anyone would just want to come on the show, right? Well, Ed messaged Sebastian, I think it was on Instagram. So if you watch the interview on Ed's show, he'll say, hey, I messaged Sebastian on Instagram. I got no response. Sebastian actually saw it. And Sebastian has 500,000 followers. So Ed has twice as much followers as Sebastian does. But Sebastian saw it and he's like, oh, this guy looks interesting. Oh, what's that, wife? Oh, okay, cool. You want me to take the kids? Shoot. And then life happens and then he just didn't respond to Ed. And Ed had to keep chasing him on different channels. It wasn't just one. And he finally got him on the show. So you have to remember, if you're someone who, back then I didn't have a lot of network or influence, and I got to Gary. Now, even if you have influence, you shouldn't be complacent. Think, oh, if I just message whoever, they'll just respond because I have an audience. If you have a show, Mark, and let's say you have 100,000 listeners, that doesn't mean everyone's just going to come on the show.
Right.
You still have to have that hunger. No matter where you are, that hunger never can leave. Like, you have to keep researching. You have to find new and innovative ways, like using a crazy email dozier to see if emails even follow. You have to find crazy things to really, connect with someone.
Yeah, and I mean, it's really interesting you bring that up because there are people who they just get hit up with so many opportunities that it's hard for them to come on. I mean, there's a lot of people who I reach out to and they say, yes, I want to be on your show. Let's do it. There are other people who, it takes a lot more time. Like one of the people who I want to get on the show is Grant Cardone. We are almost 2 years into that outreach. So the interaction's been happening. So like Grant knows who I am, breakthrough success, all that stuff. But it's just because when he's not like doing the 10X event, he's on like some tour around the world. So it's hard to get people like that. So you just got to do that crazy outreach. So they keep remembering who you are.
Right. And one way to actually do better outreach is to find whoever you're wanting, Grant, to find Grant's right-hand man. Because that person's way less busy. Or finding that Grant is so big where his right-hand man has 3 right-hand men.
Yeah.
One of those and getting them to like you is going to be a lot easier than getting Grant's attention. You have to have something of value to get to Grant.
Yeah, definitely.
You build gates to get through, to get to him. So if you can get to the right-hand man, but if it's not as big as Grant, his right-hand man will have right-hand men. Finding unique ways to get to those guys is the way you get to Grant.
That's interesting. I mean, especially the bigger you get, the more of a structure you have. Right. And you got to go through more hoops to get to the people who you want to get to. But if you really want to have the person on your show, or you really want to get hired by that person or whatever it is your equivalent, definitely take the time to do that. So definitely really awesome stuff about outreach. I'd like to shift back to the young entrepreneurship a bit because outreach is essential for young entrepreneurs and also for anyone in general. But for young entrepreneurship, more on that. What do you believe holds a lot of young entrepreneurs back from being able to follow their dreams and start seeing success?
I genuinely think it's the ability to think it can happen to you. Oh, it happened for Mark. It happened for Gary. It happened for Horace, but I don't know if it'll happen for me. Do I have that value? Can I actually do this? And it's that limiting self-doubt that you think you can't. But when you really think you can, it'll happen. And you have to start putting things in motion. And I know how crazy broad that sounds. But I can guarantee you we all have that thought where, can I really do this? Can this really be one of the biggest podcasts? can I really compare my podcast to Joe Rogan? Like, it's Joe Rogan. He's the top. Am I really in the league? I mean, a long time ago, Grant Cardone invited me to his Power Players show, and it's one of his shows on his thing, and I was like, what do you want me? Like, what am I going to do to bring value on this show? Like, I just started recently doing podcasts. I was like, what am I going to talk about? Like, I'm just doing, like, I'm not giving back. Like, I'm just in the weeds doing it. Gary's whole thing, clouds and dirt. I'm in the dirt going. I was like, why do you want me? Nowadays, if Grant's team reaches out to me and they're like, Harris, we want to talk to you. Well, of course you're going to talk to me. Who else are you going to talk to? It's a different mindset. It's not being like cocky or anything, but it's like,
yeah, exactly.
So many experiences where I know I can bring value to people. I know I can help them. So if one person listens to this and they're like, man, I'm going to find Seth Godin's right-hand man's right-hand man. And they get that interview, and somehow, some crazy way, in 5 weeks, we get an email saying, hey, I got it. Like, crazy. And that's just, there's value to that. Or I use email dozers now. Like, that's crazy. And that brings value to people. Or my story somehow inspires someone. There's things that you can do, but you have to really think, like, I am of value. Like, I can do this. I can blow this thing up.
Wow. I really love that answer because it's a great mindset thing, like having the belief in yourself that you can do it. And remember, all those guys everyone started at zero, which is something a lot of people forget, but is true. So really great stuff. You said one thing I like, though, there's a difference between having that ego and like just being confident in yourself. And it's obvious that Harris, he's confident in himself. I mean, he's not like showing off or anything like that. But I mean, like if Grant Cardone or whoever reaches out to him and wants him, I mean, like who else would you go to? Because I know I can deliver the value that you want. So great distinction there. One of the other questions I want to ask, and I do ask this to everyone, outreach. I know we've talked a lot about that. I think that is a big habit for anyone to develop. If you've listened to a few of these or watched, you already know where I'm going with this. But Harris, what do you believe is some of the essential habits that have helped you become successful?
Routines and setting goals. So sometimes, imagine you're flying somewhere and you're in a plane and the pilot gets on and he says, hey, I have good news and bad news. The bad news is our gauges are out. I have no idea where we're going, how fast we're going, how much fuel we have left, or any of that. But we are making good time. That's how we approach business. A lot of people, they're like, oh, I have no idea what my number is for the next quarter. I have no idea how many people I need to hire. I don't know what those people are. I don't know what skill sets those people are. But my show's going to blow up, I think. You have to really gauge things and build a routine. So those are two huge components, because if you have a routine, everything becomes easy. I used to work, all the time and only sleep 4 hours. Not very sustainable. You don't think properly. New ideas happen when you actually sleep 8 to 9 hours. That's optimal for me. Everyone's different. So now I've made it a routine to sleep 8 hours. So if I go to bed at 1, I'll sleep 8 hours. If I go to bed at 10, I'll sleep 8 hours. But whatever that 8 hours is, that's my routine now. And it's set in stone. And then just doing that will help a lot.
And Harris, I love how quick you were to answer that question with routines. I think it's really great to have those routines in play because it's not always the people doing all these new different things, going after the shiny object. It's the people who do the same repetitive, sometimes feels like boring again and again and again. You're like, I'm done with this, I'm done with this, I'm done with this. And then you get the results. Like podcasts like Breakthrough Success. I'm bringing up 360 again because this is 360th episode. But I mean, if I just feel like pursuing a new shiny object and like stopping this, going somewhere else, instead of doing all 360 of these, I mean, I don't know where I would be without the podcast and without the radio show, without YouTube. I mean, there's being consistent, doing the routines, really essential. So Harris, thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah, consistency trumps all, man. You can either let the day run you or you run the day, and being consistent every day leads to success.
Yeah, consistency is certainly a great thing for all of us to strive for. Definitely a way to cap off the episode as well. So, one of the things that Harris wants you guys to know is he is on Instagram at Harris Reis, HARIS _ and then Reis is Reis. He's posting a lot of stuff there. Will be in the show notes. Definitely follow him. Is there any other places we can find you? Or do you just want to say focus on Instagram and follow me there?
Yep, follow him on Instagram. I'm working on growing that to 50,000 by this time next year. And I'm documenting how.
Awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm going from 500 to 50,000 in 365 days. So, and I'm documenting how I'm doing it. So
that'll be fun to follow.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to follow, help me out with that. I would really appreciate it. And then I'm documenting the journey so you can do it for yourself too.
That would be awesome. And you get a live case study. I mean, those are very hard to find these days versus the case study that already happened. So Harris, thanks for, going on this project with the Instagram and taking the time to come on Breakthrough Success and share all of your really awesome insights with us. It was such a pleasure to have you on the show.
Yeah, mutual feeling. I feel blessed that you had me on. So hopefully I provided some value and looking forward to building our relationship.